Have you ever wondered how a flower blooms or a building erects itself almost magically in just a few seconds? This apparent sorcery is the magic of time-lapse, where slow transformations are captured in a series of photos and then sped up to give the illusion of rapid change. It's like viewing life through a fast-forward lens, condensing hours, days, even weeks into mere moments. It's the beautiful art of patience meets photography. In this video, you will learn how to create your own time-lapse. Time-lapse creation can seem complex at first, but with a few basic tools and a little patience, anyone can do it. To get started with creating your own time-lapse, you're going to need a few basic tools. First and foremost, you'll need a camera. This doesn't have to be a high-end DSLR. Even your smartphone can do the trick. What's important is that your camera should have the capability to manually control the exposure and frame rate. Next, you'll need a sturdy tripod. Why a tripod, you ask? Well, stability is crucial in time-lapse photography. You want your camera to remain absolutely still during the entire shooting process. Any slight movement can ruin your time-lapse, so investing in a good tripod is a must. Now let's talk about software. There are plenty of time-lapse software options out there. Some are free and others come at a cost. This software is what you'll use to stitch together all of your individual photos into a seamless time-lapse video. It's like a digital loom weaving together threads of time. So you've got your camera, your tripod, and your software. But how do these pieces fit together? Well, think of your camera as the eyes capturing fleeting moments. The tripod is like the anchor, holding everything steady. And the software is the brain, piecing together the puzzle of images into a coherent whole. Now, it's important to note that creating a time-lapse takes time, patience, and a lot of trial and error. You might not get it right on your first try or even your second, but don't get discouraged. Each attempt gets you one step closer to capturing the perfect time-lapse. It's like a dance, really. A dance between your camera, your tripod, and your software. A dance between you and time itself. And with each dance, you learn something new. You become a better partner, a better choreographer, and ultimately, a better storyteller. Now that you know what you need, let's dive into the steps of creating a time-lapse. First, you must decide on your subject. This is the cornerstone of creating a time-lapse video that will captivate your audience. The subject you choose is pivotal as it will dictate the story you're about to tell, the visual journey you're about to embark on. So how do you choose the perfect subject? You need something that will show a visible change over time. It could be the blooming of a flower, the bustling activity of a city square, or the ever-changing canvas of the sky. The key is to select a subject that will transform, evolve, and morph in a way that's both visually engaging and tells a unique story. Once you've decided on your subject, the next step is setting up your camera and tripod. Your camera is your eye into the world, and your tripod is the steady hand that holds it. You need to ensure your camera is perfectly positioned to capture your subject in its entirety. Consider the angle, the height, the distance. Each plays a vital role in the final outcome. The tripod, on the other hand, is your constant companion. It needs to be sturdy, reliable, and able to withstand the elements if you're shooting outdoors. Remember, consistency is key in time-lapse photography, and a good tripod ensures that consistency. Now, let's talk about intervals. The interval between shots is another crucial aspect of time-lapse photography. It's the rhythm to your visual symphony, the pace at which your story unfolds. You need to decide on an interval that complements your subject. If your subject changes rapidly, like a bustling city square, a shorter interval might be necessary. If it's a slow, gradual change like a flower blooming, a longer interval might be better suited. Once you have your camera set up and interval decided, it's time to start shooting. Remember, patience is your greatest ally in time-lapse photography. It's a slow dance with time, a delicate balance of waiting and capturing. But with the right subject, the right setup, and the right interval, you're now ready to create a time-lapse masterpiece. Now comes the part where patience plays a key role. This is the moment you've been preparing for, the time-lapse shoot itself. It's a process that's as fascinating as it is time-consuming. Depending on the subject of your time-lapse, this could take anywhere from a few hours to days, weeks, or in some extreme cases, even months. Let's start with a simple example. If you're capturing the hustle and bustle of a city street, a couple of hours might suffice. But if you're looking to document the changing seasons in a forest, well, we're talking about an endeavor that could stretch over several months. The beauty of time-lapse photography is in this very diversity, the ability to compress time and create a visual spectacle that's both captivating and insightful. Now here's one of the most crucial aspects of shooting a time-lapse: ensuring the camera doesn't move. A slight shift or a minor bump can ruin hours of hard work. So, how do you make sure your camera stays as still as a statue? By using a sturdy tripod and securing it well. If you're shooting outdoors, consider factors like wind and ground stability. Use weights to anchor your tripod if need be. Also, it's important to check on your camera periodically, especially for long-duration shoots. Ensure it's still working, the battery is holding up, and the settings haven't changed. A remote trigger or an intervalometer can be a lifesaver in such situations, allowing you to maintain a consistent shooting interval without physically touching the camera. One more thing to remember: weather changes and natural light variations are part and parcel of time-lapse photography. Embrace them. These elements can add a unique charm to your footage, giving it a depth that's hard to achieve otherwise. And there you have it, the step-by-step guide to shooting your time-lapse. It's a game of patience and precision, but the result is worth every second you invest. Once you have all your shots, it's time to move on to the final step. The final step is where the magic happens. So you've taken all your shots, followed our step-by-step guide, and now you're ready to compile them into a breathtaking time-lapse video. The process is quite straightforward, but it's also where your creativity can truly shine through. First, you need to import all your images into a time-lapse software. There are plenty out there, some free, some paid, so choose the one that suits your needs and budget. Once you've imported your images, they should appear in the software as a sequence, moving from the first image you took to the last. Now this is where you can start playing around. You see, the speed at which your images play back will determine the overall feel of your time-lapse. For a slow, graceful video, you might want to set a slower playback speed. On the other hand, if you're looking to create a fast-paced, energetic time-lapse, a higher playback speed will do the trick. Remember, there is no right or wrong speed. It all comes down to what you're trying to achieve with your video. So don't be afraid to experiment until you find the speed that feels just right. Next, you can adjust other settings such as brightness, contrast, and saturation. Again, these adjustments can drastically change the mood of your video, so feel free to experiment and see what works best for your vision. Once you're happy with your settings, it's time to export your video. Make sure to choose a high-quality export setting to ensure your time-lapse looks as crisp and clear as possible, and voila! You've just created your very own time-lapse video. From capturing the perfect shots to adjusting your playback speed and exporting your final product, you've seen firsthand how time-lapse can transform ordinary moments into extraordinary visual experiences. And there you have it, your very own time-lapse. Creating a time-lapse might seem daunting at first, but as you've seen, it's a straightforward process. We've journeyed together through the art and science of time-lapse, breaking down the process into manageable steps. We began with the important task of selecting a subject. Remember, the key is finding something that evolves or moves slowly over time, such as a sunset, a bustling city, or a blooming flower. Next, we dove into the technicalities of setting up the camera. We discussed how crucial it is to have a sturdy tripod, choose the right settings for your specific scene, and decide on the perfect interval between shots. This is where the magic happens, transforming hours into seconds. Then, we moved on to the actual shooting of the time-lapse. We emphasized the importance of letting the camera do its work, undisturbed for the duration of the shooting. It's a waiting game, a testament to patience and commitment. Finally, we compiled the captured shots into a single seamless video using editing software. This is where we saw the fruits of our labor. A beautiful time-lapse bringing to life the slow, subtle changes that often go unnoticed. With a bit of patience and creativity, you can capture the beauty of slow transformations and share them with the world in mere seconds. So, what are you waiting for? It's time to start creating your own time-lapse masterpiece.